Hey everybody, I just wanted to touch on AtariAge being bought by Atari, the company. If you haven't heard, I'm assuming a lot of you had, but yesterday it came out from Albert right here in this post. Long story short, Albert, the founder and the head of AtariAge for like 20 years, has sold it to Atari, but he's going to remain on board. He's still going to run the site, and he is now officially an employee of Atari. And there's lots of thoughts going on, and I want to thank Jason over at patreon.com/NoSoreGamer who messaged me and said, hey, what do you think of this? And I'm going to make it a video. I would have liked to have done this yesterday, but real life sometimes. So let me just give you a synopsis from this and this Q&A, which I highly recommend people go and read. You can do it without signing up or signing into the forums. So Atari employees, one of the things was asked is, will Atari employees be marked as such, by their pictures or whatever? And I don't know if this sign right here, it says it's a moderator, but Al did say he's going to mark that people are employees of Atari somehow. And he also reiterated some homebrew authors who sell their games on AtariAge were like, hey, does Atari own my games now? And he's like, no, you still own your games. And if you want to do a deal with Atari, that would be through you. He also said he's not sure what will happen to subscriptions in the future now that Atari owns this, but he said the forums will still be ad-free. He's wanted to change for a while. He said like running the site's been a lot of work on him. He's wanted to scale back a little bit. And he was even thinking of just selling the site to anybody and walking away or closing it down or whatever. But he really put a lot of thought into it. He's happy with the way modern Atari is going, and he thought that this would be a good deal to sell it to them. He said that the forums and the private messages will be untouched. There won't be censoring. Criticism of Atari is still allowed. Talking of non-Atari platforms is still allowed. So like if talk continues about like an Intellivision FPGA system, that would be okay to advertise in the forums and talk about that. I will say this. I know there's people who follow the Intellivision Amico who are not happy because they feel like the forums and the moderators over at AtariAge basically enabled Tommy Tallarico to run roughshod over certain people, get them banned, and spread some misinformation. And it's just turned into a mess. And I believe he removed those forums where you can't see them. He hid them. He locked the thread that Tommy was a part of. And I do think, talking about not censoring and stuff like that, I do think for posterity's sake, if no other reason, that forum should be at least read only. Maybe not anyone else can talk about it, but it should be, maybe it is. I have not been on AtariAge in a while. Like I simplified my life a year or two ago. I stopped going to certain sites. I don't even have a Facebook page for my YouTube channel anymore. I really try to simplify things. And so I actually need to go back on AtariAge because of a private message I had, because of a video I meant to make like a year ago. I'm so sorry if you know who I'm talking about. I have been meaning to make it. But it's good that, at least for now, it sounds like Albert's going to run the forums. Like Atari's not going to come in and totally, control everything with an iron fist. At least that's the hope. Anything could change, right? He said some games will return to the store if they get the IP and license. So AtariAge has sold games, homebrew games, based on licensed properties. Maybe they've had like a Space Invaders game. I don't know about that, but I know they had Reactor was one. I know Reactor was one that was brought down. And with the purchase of Atari, a couple things happened. They removed all the licensed games they don't have the rights to. And you can no longer get ROMs to individual like Atari 2600 games. Like before, you could look up the database and, get like the rarity and the box art and stuff. And you could download ROMs and those are gone. And let me just say, that's probably in the long run a good thing, because guess what? It was illegal. Now, no one was doing anything about it, but all it takes is one company to threaten a lawsuit and they actually sue them. And maybe the whole thing comes down because the company got sued. So at least the site's not ending because somebody sued AtariAge. So it's always good to do things on the up and up, to do things legal. It is a bummer for some people that certain games, like a Pac-Man style game, may not be available anymore, but it should be good that everything's going to be licensed properly. I remember when the Intellivision Amico, when they were doing their tank battle game or battle tanks or whatever, and they found out that they had art in there that didn't belong to them. from like Worlds of Tanks and stuff like that. And people were like, hey, that's unlicensed. You can't do that. Well, it goes both ways, right? It goes with games as well. Anyways, he says in the future, they're going to have a new e-commerce site where he will sell games and ROMs will be sold digitally. Some people are happy about that. He said the site store will kind of act like APX. So this was a program that Atari ran in the 80s where people could submit their computer programs to Atari. They would sell them, I think, through mail order, through their magazines or whatever. So regular Joe Blow, he could make a computer game, send it to Atari. They could run it through the APX. People could buy it. And if it was popular enough, Atari themselves would publish it, like turn it into cartridge. I think that's what happened with Caverns of Mars, if you know that game. So he says, so AtariAge will still be producing homebrew games, and who knows, maybe the best of the best, they will work with a deal with Atari where maybe they'll make their own Atari cartridge like they've done for some other games, their deluxe cartridges, or maybe they'll include it on the VCS for purchase digitally. So that's a good thing. And he said that the game sales should be streamlined in the future. So that's not everything. Go to the site, read these pages, and if I miss something, let me know in the comments below. My opinion, I'm cautiously optimistic. I really like the direction that the modern Atari leadership has taken with Atari in the past year or so. Alien Abduction for the VCS, done by the original guy, John Van Ryzen, I think it was, who did Hero, is a phenomenal game. And I'm glad that they made it. That's great. I'm excited about the new Atari 2600 Plus that it actually plays 7800 games. That's something that fans have wanted for a while, a new system that plays 7800s. Yeah, it may not be perfect. It's not FPGA, but at least it's a step in the right direction. Atari 50 was phenomenal from what I understand. So they're actually getting back into producing games and not just licensing their name to slap on everything. So I like some of the steps they're taking. It doesn't mean they're perfect, and it doesn't mean a leadership change couldn't turn this all sour quickly. They did buy Moby Games. Here's Moby Games. I go to this site for research a lot, and I'm happy to say that it's still relatively the same. They haven't ruined Moby Games, so I'm hoping that they won't ruin AtariAge for people who like that kind of thing. So overall, I'm cautiously optimistic. Again, I do think they should unlock the Amico thread to at least read it. I wasn't happy with how that thing all turned out, but I'm always willing to give people, chances on new endeavors or second chances or whatever. So as far as this goes, let's see what Atari does with it. I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid and say it's going to be the best thing ever, and I'm not going to be a doomsayer. I'm just going to kind of take a wait and see day by day approach. That's just what I think. You can let me know your opinions in the comments below, and I will see you next time.